What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Attack on Titan, the final season. This is episode 28, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yep. So we kind of figured that, obviously this core was not going to finish off the entirety of the series. And of course, by the time we watched this episode, we already got the announcement that the third part of the final season is coming out, but we will have to wait until sometime maybe early 2023, which like I predicted a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that the third part is going to be like a TV anime and not like a movie, which I was actually expecting a movie, honestly. But I guess honestly, a TV anime is probably better, considering they'd have more time to flesh out the story more as opposed to a movie.
Yeah. We don't have like an actual episode count, but supposedly, I could be wrong on this, but this like supposedly someone posted out a tweet like on April Fool's Day, suggesting that the final part's going to be 8 episodes. But there's no like viable information to really confirm that, and considering that was released on April Fool's Day, it could have been a joke or something. But I can't say for sure whether or not if it is. But but with the final part being an actual season, it kind of makes sense, and just the amount of material that's left in there.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of see that. It'll probably be around that if I could guess. Maybe like about 8 episodes at the most. Yeah, like it's way too early, I think, at this point for us to have that information. Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe they'll actually give us that information fairly soon, but usually like it's not until like with a lot of different anime, like we don't even know until sometimes after it's already started airing, like what the official episode count's actually going to be. Sometimes we know beforehand, but sometimes we don't. So yeah, who knows when we're gonna get that.
So the majority of this episode is basically just a flashback of what happened before the assault on Liberio.
So this is actually the chapter 123 from the manga, which originally actually happened right in the middle of the rumbling, like right after Eren started the rumbling. But I guess they decided to place it here, which actually makes more sense because, there's not really a lot happening in the present time in terms of like what's happening with the Alliance, at least, because they're just on the boat. So I think it was actually a good idea to put it here instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the first half it basically shows us from Mikasa's perspective about her thoughts of what Eren was thinking, during the time when they traveled to Marley for the first time, and whether or not she believed that his whole like mission to destroy the entire world was his plan all along. But she's still contemplating on whether or not that's true or not. So we do see like we get flashbacks of like I said with the Scots arriving in over at Marley, and then of course they see a lot of stuff for the first time in their lives, like seeing a car for the first time and even eating ice cream for the first time in their lives. And of course they also notice that there's I think, what was it? Sasha gets her purse grabbed by a pickpocket, and of course Levi stops the kid. But unfortunately, the kid was about to be severely punished by a mob of Marleyans for doing so, and of course Hanji and the others try to cover for the kid, saying that he's related to them, and then they just run off to like, I think, this like refugee camp where the kid lives.
Yeah. I think doesn't the kid also end up taking the purse anyway? Like he actually like gets away after they bring him back there. Like,
I think I think he stole that, or maybe he took Levi's money pouch or something.
Yeah.
But they don't really bother going after the kid, because they said like the money they got was from Azumabito in the first place. So they. So of course they talk to Azumabito at her complex, and they pretty much talk about like how they're gonna go about I guess you could say about the peace talks that they were initially going to, to initiate with Marley, before Aaron completely throws it by the wayside with his assault on, at like during during the festival.
Yeah.
So like later that night, Mikasa finds Eren up on the hilltop overlooking like the refugee camp, and you see him like with a tear in his eye, and we can probably obviously speculate that he knew what he was about to do with with the rumbling that he was about to initiate months down the road.
Yeah, I feel like at this point Eren was most likely conflicted about doing it or not, and I feel like it probably wasn't until like the peace talks that they were, I guess, originally going to initiate, where they had that assembly later on in the episode, and they have someone who was I think he was like a speaker representing Eldia or something like that. He was like,
I think it was a speaker representing Marleyans, because he was like railing against, like he was saying like, with the devils of the island and such and such.
Yeah, like because at first they thought that he might be more understanding, or he might be willing to initiate a peace talk, but I think once Eren heard that he considers them all devils and he wants them to be wiped out, basically, that was probably when he went, he pretty much made up his mind.
Yeah.
I would say.
I mean, before this, like we do get like one like one good scene with everyone else just having a good time.
Well, we should also point out this is the scene where Eren pretty much straight up asks Mikasa like what she thinks of him. I would say like it seems like in a romantic sense, because he asked her like what am I to you, and I don't know, like to me I interpret like her answer as like she's not really being honest with herself about how she actually feels about him, because I think she probably is definitely in love with him, considering his as we know her like entire character is she is obsessed with Eren. Like her whole existence is based around Eren, more or less. So I think she probably is, but she just didn't know how to answer him in that moment.
Yeah.
So she ends up saying your family.
This also gets brought up again during Eren's conversation with Zeke, talking about the Ackermans being loyal to the royal family, and it kind of gets back to that the whole confrontation that Eren had with Mikasa and Armin near the end of the first part of the season, where Eren suggested that Mikasa is a slave towards the royal bloodline, but we knew at the time that there were some holes in his claim, and we find out that with Zeke telling Eren that the Ackermans aren't actually slaves who follow the person they save, but he mentions that Mikasa is mostly devoted for him for another reason. So it kind of it's apparently. This pretty much confirms the fact that Eren straight up lied to both Mikasa and Armin about the whole thing about with the Ackerman bloodline, and why, and her, him just blatantly saying that he hated her his entire life or something.
Yeah. And we also see as well like how Eren kind of pretty much like did these self-inflicted injuries, basically, where he like cut off his own leg and like put out one of his eyes, and I mean it was it was painful to watch, honestly. Like he and apparently I heard in the manga like he doesn't really react the same way as he does in the anime, where in the anime he's obviously in a lot of pain. In the manga he's more
he's literally cutting off his own damn leg through the bone, which is painful in its own thing.
Even if he can regenerate, like you still feel the pain of cutting off your limbs or putting out your own eye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we also see more of like with Eren like discussing the whole plan with Zeke and Yelena, and of course like Eren like pretending to agree with the whole euthanasia plan, but instead he
also
Doing
told
for-
Flock about this as well, where he was he let Flock know what his plan was.
Yeah, and of course, he tells Flock his actual plans of wanting to eradicate the entire world to give the island of Parody I guess you could say a peaceful existence, and he can have his friends live a long and happy life.
Yeah, like a lot of it is because he wants the people of Paradise to be free and to be able to actually like experience the outside world and not be stuck behind the walls and not be stuck on Paradise.
Yeah, and then of course we see a conversation with him and Historia discussing this whole idea. Apparently, with Historia becoming a Titan and then consuming Zeke, but Historia is of course like vehemently opposed against Eren's plan, and pretty much I guess this could have been the moment where she decides to get pregnant in hopes of stopping.
It's a bit of a weird scene, like because Historia asks Eren like what he thinks about her getting pregnant, but and a lot of people like who read the manga, because I think it's more or less the same there. They were kind of hoping that they would sort of expand on that in the scene where they would maybe go more into that, like because it's been like this heavily debated topic on who the father is of Historia's child until they actually revealed in the last chapter that it was actually the farmer. A lot of people were thinking it was Eren. But unfortunately, we don't really get any answers to that in this scene.
Yeah, that's pretty much where they leave off, and then we finally go back into the present day with pretty much all of the colossal titans just making their move and arriving, arriving in Marley and just wreaking havoc at that point.
Yeah, it was actually kind of a bit hilarious just to see the colossal titans swim under the water, swimming under the water like that.
Yeah, and then I mean, it doesn't matter like whether or not you're in sea or land, and like even if they're in sea, like if the titans won't kill you when swimming underwater, the hot steam will likely kill you.
Yeah, as we see with one of the I guess commanders getting his skin or all of his skin just burnt off, which was pretty brutal.
Yeah, and then of course the Marleyan soldiers trying to shoot them down with their cannons or whatever.
They actually did manage to get it seems like they actually did manage to get a couple of them underwater when they shot them with the cannons, which I was kind of surprised about, honestly. But
the cannons they're using. But the cannons they're using down by the shoreline have absolutely no effect on them, and then it pretty much just dawns on all the soldiers there that it's just hopeless. They're not getting away from these titans, and they're just gonna get trampled on no matter what they try to do, and they can't even run away from them. Just due to the pace that these titans are running, or just walking, because I think Hanji mentioned in the last episode that even on horseback you can't get away from these titans.
Yeah, I mean there's pretty much nowhere to run because they'll pretty much get to you eventually. That is unless you have like a plane or something, I guess. But then of course the final shot, one of the final shots is we see a good shot of Eren's founding colossal titan form, just pretty much dedicating himself that he's going to destroy everything in his path at this point. And that's pretty much where the season ends, which honestly, I'm a little bit bummed that we have to wait like an entire whole another year for another season to come out after we've waited like a whole year prior to this just for this part of the season to come around. Yeah, it really feels like we've just been playing the waiting game with the series for the most part. Which I mean, I would say I'm mostly okay with as long as they have the time they need to actually put out something good. Because a lot of the major problems that happened in the final season part 1 were because of the tight schedule. Final season part 2, they definitely had more time, but it was still a pretty tight schedule nonetheless. Hopefully that's not going to be so much the case for the last part, but You know,
I mean, in terms of like, you know,
as we know, Mappa's still working on like tons of different projects. So I mean, regardless, it's still going to be like it's still going to be like a heavy workload. Like, you know, it's just the fact that they're working on so many different things at once.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks, but hopefully we'll finally get the proper ending we deserve. Hopefully by next year. I mean, we kind of know what happens, but I just hope like Mappa does it better than how the manga portrayed it.
Yeah, we can only hope it's not gonna be the same, because there's a lot of problems with the manga ending, and I mean, a lot of fans are kind of watching this hoping that it might be something different. I mean, if it's not, like, I mean, that's going to be really disappointing, but I feel like there's still a lot of things with the anime that I've still enjoyed, even if it's not going to have a different ending, I guess. But it's just, yeah, it's going to feel kind of the same way the manga did, where even if there were parts you enjoyed, you just can't ignore what it's all leading up to. So, I mean, I'm really crossing my fingers that we are going to get something else, or, something different here. But yeah, I guess we won't really find that out until sometime next year. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty great way to end it. Regardless, it is another kind of, of course, massive cliffhanger that we're just going to be stuck on until next year. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was, I thought the way they handled the adaptation itself has been, pretty great. Definitely much better than part one. I still enjoyed part one, but I can acknowledge it had some problems. Part two did actually fix some issues that part one had. And I think I would say part two has been much better than part one for sure. So hopefully they can give us either the same level of quality or maybe something even better for part three. Well, hopefully something better, considering it is pretty much going to be the last set of episodes. But yeah, I am kind of disappointed that we didn't get something a little bit different, because the theory a lot of people had was that Mikasa was going to answer Eren differently in this episode, and it was going to hint at an anime original ending, but that's not what happened. Shameless plug, I am uploading a separate video on that, and I think that I don't think her answer really matters all that much as to, if we're going to get a different ending or not. Because as we know, like, Eren is still doing the rumbling anyway. So even if she did answer differently, it probably wouldn't have mattered either. The only different answer she could have given that would have changed things would be for her to have actually admitted that she was in love with him or something. Because spoilers, there is something that kind of shows what would have happened if she had answered that way later on in the manga. So, the rumbling, that's a timeline where the rumbling wouldn't have happened. But as we know, of course, like I said, the rumbling still happens. So, we know that regardless of how she answered here, Eren still does the rumbling anyway. So, yeah. I think there's probably going to be, if there is a divergence point, it's probably going to be in part three somewhere, if it happens. So, but yeah, I thought it was a great episode. It's, I don't really have too much else to say. I like that it kind of gave us a little bit more context as to, maybe why Eren kind of started acting the way he did post time skip. I like that we got to see Sasha again, and some of the other characters actually, for at least a brief moment, sort of enjoying themselves, like Mikasa, Mikasa, Sasha, and some of the other characters. But yeah, I don't have too much else to say. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I thought, like you said, I thought this part of the season was a step up from the first part. With plenty of action, improvement with the animation, just just a lot of plot points being, just going on a whole different level, especially like what happened in the last episode with the Alliance fighting off the Jaegers. But in terms of us having to wait a whole nother year just for the actual final part coming out, that's that's just going to be another agonizing weight that we're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, I'm just hoping the weight will actually be worth it. But yeah, I guess, like, I don't know. I guess if I were to give it like a number or like a percentage rating, like a or number rating, I guess I think this is probably like either an 8 or a 9.
Yeah,
you know, that is until we're gonna if we get the same ending. I don't know. But as just taking the season as its own thing, I think it definitely like 8 or 9 for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I thought, like I said, it was a slight improvement over the last of the last part of the season, mostly because the last part of the season was mostly just build up to this point, and you know we're just seeing we're just like literally seeing the consequences of what happens once Eren starts the rumbling, and what everyone's willing to do to stop it at this point.
Yeah. I think the low points of this season were definitely most of the things having to do with the Alliance, but that's more so a problem with, you know, how that was written in the manga itself, I think. And also some decisions they made with Mikasa's character, in my opinion. I think in some scenes she comes off as, like the scene in particular with Luis, and how she's pretty much lying there dying, and Mikasa just like wants her scarf back. And also the scene where she... It really comes off as, you know, just a cold-blooded killer with blowing up those two guys. I know it was supposed to be like, you know, look cool and everything, but it just came off. It came off very differently to me, and it just kind of seemed out of character for her. So, and also just the general formation of the Alliance in the first place, I think that could have been done a little bit better.
Yeah, particularly that. With Annie, reuniting with the other members, which is
they definitely should have had a problem with Annie, and I feel like Connie should have confronted Gabby about what she did, which never really happens.
They just made it into this like this awkward comedic scene with her eating pie and such or stuff.
Yeah,
her face with pie, but like you said, I really wish that could have been like handled a little bit differently and added more tension to it, but it just, I don't know, if there's like, I really felt like if there was one deviation they could have done, it would have been that scene.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so that all being said, guys, I guess until I guess we'll see you next year for the final quote unquote final season of Attack on Titan. I really feel like they could have named it a little bit better, considering there's like technically now there's like 3 parts to it. But yeah, that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.